That's about the clicking.
It is.
I know.
For sure. I got like lots of so less than that in my head for over time.
Just say yes, Cheryl. Just say yes.
Get your friend down, I think.
He flags upside down. It's the old one.
It is, it's the wrong one.
That's the old one.
Who put that up there?
It's out there.
It's a screen saver.
Do you want me to log into my email?
We've been hacked.
The last one.
The last one we can move on.
I know.
We're not rolling it up. It's not a PowerPoint presentation for the vacation.
That's actually your hold.
I need it to find what we're doing.
Good evening, and thank everyone for attending tonight's meeting. Today is December the 5th, 2017. Time is now 6 p.m. The regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Trinidad is now open. Session. Please, would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Bernardo?
Here.
Fletcher? Here. Lopez?
Here.
Matei?
Here.
Miles? Here. Torres? Here. Rico?
Here. Are there any additions or deletions or questions concerning the agenda? None. Motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Any discussion on that? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Call vote, please.
Bernardo?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Torres? Yes. Rico?
Yes. Any policy or staff reports that we got? Doesn't look like we have any. Okay. Petitions or communications or oral written, do we have any?
No, we don't.
None? All right. Item 4, consent agenda. Approval of the regular meeting minutes of November the 21st, 2017. Item B, which is bills. Item C, payroll December the 2nd, 2017 through December the 15th, 2017. Could I take to have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Second.
Second.
Any discussion on it? Call the vote, please. Andy, hold on.
I would like to make a comment. Under the council reports, it stated that the money that I revealed from grants last time were to go to the or to be used for the Karen Share Hot Meal Program. That was actually for the Grow and Bloom greenhouse. Sorry, just wanted.
Yes. Rico.
Yes. Item 5, public hearings, we have none. Item 6, unfinished business, ADA policies adoption. According to this, the policies are pretty self-explanatory. And Mr. Beach, do you have anything to add?
I have nothing to add, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I just would answer any questions if I could, or try to anyhow, that you might have.
I do have one, I don't know if anybody had any questions. Anybody? Go ahead. Question I had is, I read through here in the 8th, and this hopefully doesn't open a whole other can of worms. But it could.
You could. What's that?
Because of the hearing impaired, do we need to have a signer?
My taking on that would be no. Because as it says in the accommodation portion of this, that if someone who is hearing impaired or vision impaired needs to give us 48 hours notice that they want to either come to the meeting, speak at the meeting, or have that service available, and we can do that at that time. Actually, it's less than 48 hours, but that's what the usual time frame is.
Do we have somebody that we can call on in that event?
Yes, we do. Am I correct?
Yes.
We do.
That was the only thing I saw that.
Well,
flagged that.
I noticed something this afternoon, if I may. Under one of the policies, we left a blank, actually, referring to myself in one of the policies here. And I should put it on top, I'm sorry I didn't. Under the notice, under the American with Disabilities Act, paragraph 35.106, we left out my name and contact information, and I already changed that in policies. But the ones that you guys have before you do not have that change made, so the ones that we publish and keep on record will have that change made.
Any other questions from Mr. Beach? No? Call the roll, please. Do we have a motion? We got a motion. Sorry about that. Motion to approve. Second.
Second.
Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Donato?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Torres? Yes. Rico?
Yes. Item B, appointment to the Planning and Zoning and Variance Commission. Mr. Martirano was not present the last time he was here tonight. I do have something to run by council, and it's up to you, whatever you guys wanna do, but we had one other application come in. We have other people that are interested in applying, and I'll leave it to council for any discussion on that, if you wanna go forward with the, Mr. Martirano's, application, or what's your thoughts? First
Did
of all,
the new ones come in after the time period was up?
Actually, all of the letters came in between, advertisements, so beyond deadlines, and then advertisement actually will start all over again tomorrow after, whatever you decide tonight, and we'll include opening it up to county residents.
How many?
Well, this would be for planning and zoning.
Right.
Yeah.
But not for
How many seats are open on that again?
Well, there's one that's open now, and there'll be one more open, once, after the first year.
I'd like to make a motion that we, since Mr. Martirano is here, tonight, that we, put Mr. Martirano on the planning and zoning board.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
It doesn't create a legal issue with the new applicants?
It should. Okay. Mr. Martirano, could you please come forward? Could you give us a little history of your background for where you feel like you can be a good,
Well, for one, I've had a building in the state, in the county and also in the city. I had a commercial building license. I also been in business in this community since 1971. I've
Just, your application is for 1 year, it's for 1 year, your application is for, 1 year,
Yeah.
and then of course renewable possibly after that, just to let you know.
Sure, that's fine.
Just wanted to let you know. Any questions for Mr. Morrow?
No, I have a comment.
Go ahead, please.
My comment is it speaks highly of you that you want to invest yourself in the community as you have in the most recent election and here tonight. Thank you for your efforts on both parts.
Well, thank
To,
you.
to
That's
become
great.
part of a solution.
That's what I'm here for.
Understood?
Any other questions? No? Call the vote, please.
Benado,
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
Matei.
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Torres. Yes. Rico.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mayor, before we move to the new applicants that we received, do they roll forward or do they need to reapply when that second vacancy
I'll
becomes
bring them
available?
forward.
I'm sorry?
I will bring them forward.
Okay, thank you.
Item C, public hearing proposed zone classification amendment of property located on lots 1 and 2, block 17, Cedar Retreats addition to the city of Trinidad, Colorado, from transitional neighborhood services to transitional community commercial. Jeff Campbell at the southeast corner of Arizona Avenue and East Street, and East Kansas Street. Hearing is now open. Have a staff opinion on it?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Tara Marshall, Development Services Director. This is the second required city council hearing for the rezoning of 828 Arizona Avenue. Mr. Jeff Campbell's representative, Mr. Loudon, is here this evening to speak to council on behalf of the application should you have questions. As Mr. Campbell provided testimony 2 weeks ago, he is intending to open a consignment auto sales at the location which was formerly a Lava Yoga Studio. It is currently zoned neighborhood services, and the request is to rezone it community commercial. The Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission heard the application on October 10, 2017, and recommended it unanimously to council for approval. Do you have any questions for me on the findings?
Any questions?
No.
No?
Okay, thank you. I believe Mr. Loudon is here if you have any questions for the applicant.
Mr. Loudon, could you come forward, please? You need to swear him in if you have any questions for him.
We may as well, Mayor, I would say if we could, please. Not that we don't believe everything you say.
Will you raise your hand? Swear to tell the truth, the truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay. Do you have anything in addition to add to what we know so far about his proposal?
No, sir.
Okay. Questions from council?
Not for me.
Not from you? Okay. Anybody? Everybody seems to be okay with it? Okay.
Well said, sir.
I'm not.
That's right, thank you.
Anyone in the audience to speak for or against the proposed zone classification change amendment? Not? Hearing is closed. Second reading of an ordinance amending the zone classification of property located on lots 1 and 2, block 17, CP Treats, addition to the city of Trinidad, Colorado, from transitional neighborhood services to transitional community commercial. And Kim, probably just go ahead and read the same thing. Read the ordinance, please.
An ordinance amending the zone classification of property located at lots 1 and 2, block 17, CP Treats addition to the city of Trinidad, Colorado, from transitional neighborhood services to transitional community commercial.
Motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call vote, please.
Benado,
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
Matei.
Yes.
Miles,
Yes.
Torres. Yes. Rico.
Yes. Item D, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance vacating a 25-foot wide by 125-foot long portion of unimproved Mercer Street adjacent to the south boundary of Block 25, Block 3, Grandview addition to the city of Trinidad, County of Los Angeles. Hearing is now open. Have a staff opinion, please.
Mayors, members of council, the request for a vacation of right-of-way, which will be 25 feet by 125 feet long on unapproved Mercer Street. The request for vacation is coming from Ms. Christine Vasquez and Mr. Ron C. Baca. I have a slight, short presentation to show you what to walk you through the request. So these are the current conditions, and as you can see, we're talking about Block 4 and Block 5 along unimproved Alta Street, where it crosses unimproved Mercer Street. Block 4 includes lots 25 through 32. Block 5 includes lots 44 through 47. Right now, the city currently owns lots 29 through 32, which is the property in red. Ms. Christine Vasquez and Mr. Ron C. Baca own the properties located on lots 25 through 28, which are indicated in blue. The Stensons own lots 44 through 47, which are indicated in yellow. And unimproved Mercer Street falls between lot 47 in block 5 and lot 25 in block 4, and as you can see, it's indicated in green. Ms. Christine Vasquez's home sits on lots 29, 30, and 31. As you can see, she owns it. It's in blue. It's sitting on lots owned by the city, which are in red. The Stensons own the house in yellow, and as you can see, their house is located on the lots owned by Ms. Vasquez and Mr. Baca. This is the current condition of the property as it exists now. We are proposing 5 steps to remedy the situation. Step 1, the city will vacate, this is what you're considering this evening in a public hearing, the city will vacate 25 feet of right-of-way from the unimproved Mercer Street to Ms. Vasquez. As you can see, we've indicated that vacation now and turned that blue. That's step 1. If you consider that and approve that tonight, that will be the next step. Once that's done, step 2, the Stensons will dedicate lot 47, which was previously colored in yellow, and will now be part of unimproved Mercer Street. So we're shifting Mercer Street 25 feet down so that we can maintain an unapproved right-of-way. The reason is that where you see block 4 and block 5, there are additional lots owned by other people. We must legally maintain that right-of-way. Step 3, the Stensons will sign over the deeds to 44, 45, and 46 to the city. So the city will receive deeds on those properties. Step 4, Ms. Vasquez will sign over the deed for 25, 26, 27, and the vacated right-of-way to the Stensons. And as you see, their home will be completely located on the property that they would now own. Final step, step 5, the city would deed lots 29, 30, and 31 to the Vasquez family so that their home would now be located on the lots that they own. The resolution, everybody starts with 4 lots, everybody ends with 4 lots, and the right-of-way is preserved. This is the solution that staff's recommending. If you approve step 1 tonight, then we will work with the title company to create the deeds of transfer, and we will implement step 2 through 5. I just wanted to say for the record that this solution was almost wholly taken on by Miss Georgie Clark, our planning administrator, and she did some amazing work to try and resolve everyone's situation so that they legally owned their property. We've been working with the banks who had the mortgages on the lots that people owned, but which their house did not sit on. All of the mortgages have been redone toward this solution. So it's our strong recommendation that you approve it. Staff has been, do you have any questions?
Mr. Bernard, any questions? Ms. Torres?
No, this just seems way too logical.
It does, doesn't it?
I'm
Yes.
sorry, did you state that there weren't any liens or encumbrances on any of those properties to be conveyed?
They're not. The bank, we did work with the banks and they have corrected all of the mortgages to indicate the correct lots. No, there are no liens that we're aware of.
Okay.
But the banks have worked to move the mortgages, so. The mortgages are corrected now so that they are on the appropriate lots based on this resolution.
I'm just curious on the history. Did they just presume that was their land when they built their house?
I think there's a lot of areas in Trinidad that are like this. This is
Uh-huh.
not unique necessarily to this area.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of our areas that were platted in the late 1800s and early 1900s, or even into the mid 20th century, we see things like this where it's unimproved in general, and without an unimproved street or road, I think it's a little bit difficult sometimes when people put their homes up. Both of these homes have been in place for many years.
And there are no problems with utilities being at any of those
No,
streets or
we've
anything?
resolved all of those issues. Miss Christine Vasquez is here tonight. You will be actually vacating the property to her, although eventually the property would end up in the Stinson's ownership. We tried to create a solution with step-by-step that would ensure if any of the steps failed, the city was the last step, so everyone.
The lot sizes are what? What's the width?
25 by
All of
125.
them are 25.
All of them are 25 by 125.
Okay, that lot 32 is,
Yes.
of course, it doesn't show lot 33. Lot 33 is what?
Lot 33 is a road, it's a right-of-way that leads to one of our dams. So 33, 34, and the rest of Block 4 are actually part of the right-of-way that the city owns. So we would own 32, which abuts the property we already own as right-of-way.
My question is, what purpose is that? I mean, what good is that to the city of Trinidad? If not
So-
just conveying maybe that property additional to one of the landowners.
So staff considered that, and we started with 4 lots. We felt like the most appropriate way legally to do this was to start with 4 lots and end with 4 lots. Should the city decide lot 32 is not of any use to us, we could certainly advertise that and accept bids for that, as we're required to do by our processes. We didn't feel like originally the Stinsons asked for the entire unimproved Mercer Street. We just didn't feel like it was appropriate to not continue that. It was actually legally, we're bound to provide access through Block 4 and Block 5 to the lots behind it.
But it's conceivable if we do that then.
It is conceivable.
To sell at block 32.
We
On
would-
block 32, then we have an additional or different owner owning 25 feet
That's right.
between the blue lots and that doesn't.
And working with-
accomplish a lot.
In speaking with Ms. Vasquez, originally she indicated a desire to own 32 when we explained the logic behind how we were doing it, and I'll allow her to provide testimony. We did mention that as a possibility, but as Councilmember Matei has pointed out, it would be the lowest bid, so it's very possible that you could end up, not the lowest bid, sorry, the highest bid. So you would, sorry, I was thinking on the other side, I apologize. You could possibly end up with a different owner. So I think at this point, we're not recommending that we sell any of the additional lots.
I would support that.
Okay,
Okay, thank
and I
you.
believe Ms. Vasquez is
Ms.
here.
Vasquez, would you please come forward? Could you swear Ms. Vasquez in, please?
Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
She said yes.
Yes.
That's all right.
Ms. Vasquez, just I guess to make sure you're okay with the process that's taking place here? You reviewed everything and,
Yes, I have. I had wanted to bid for it, but right now I can't, so,
okay.
because we've always, that land, I always thought was mine, but it's not, so.
Les, do you have any questions? on
I
that?
don't, Mayor, thank you.
Does council have any questions?
No.
None? No questions? Well, it looks like it's a good deal for everybody involved, so it's good to
That's
see.
good that the city is just not gonna sell it. I hope.
Yeah.
A whole lot of benefit to us. The city could allow, donate, or otherwise avail that property to the owner of the blue lot, the yellow lot, and the red lot for a community garden. Wouldn't that be a cool thing?
You break out the garden with yourself.
I mean, I'm concerned it makes it usable.
It does.
The city owns it, but, you know.
Is that at lot 32, is that the only entrance to the dam up there and stuff like that, Karen? As far as-
Excuse me, Ms. Vasquez, if I stand with you, I hope that's okay. The lot 33, 34 are where the right-of-way comes. The road comes kind of catty corner above 32 and heads out to the dam.
So that, no difference on that then, huh?
No, that wouldn't change. I think one of the advantages, if it needed to be this way, which was what staff determined with the exchange of 4 lots to 4 lots, it did give, and I'll allow Ms. Vasquez obviously to speak for herself, but having the city own that as well as the right of way, I think would be preferable to somebody else owning it.
Got it.
Right. Obviously, if the land is there and her family is in that area, I don't see, just like everything else that's unimproved there, it would be there. But legally, what staff determined is that to sell property, to take deeded property, the appropriate thing to do would be to take bids for that.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez. Anyone in the audience to speak for or against the vacation of that 25-foot right of way? Not. Names opposed. Second reading of an ordinance vacating a 25-foot wide by 125-foot long portion of unimproved Mercer Street adjacent to the south boundary of Lot 25, Block 3, Grandview addition to the city of Trinidad, County of Los Angeles. Please read the ordinance, please.
An ordinance vacating a 25-foot wide by 125-foot long portion of unimproved Mercer Street adjacent to the south boundary of Lot 25, Block 3, Grandview addition to the city of Trinidad, County of Los Angeles.
Motion to approve, please. Second?
Second.
Any additional staff opinion?
I'm just lowering in there.
Okay. Call vote, please.
Donato?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Torres? Yes. Rico?
Yes. Item E, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance amending Section 2-74, procedure of bargaining units, elections and recognition. 1, definitions of Chapter 2, administration to be consistent with Home Rule Charter of the City of Trinidad. Hearing is now open. Please we have a staff opinion on that?
Your City Council, Audrey Garrett, City Clerk. As you'll recall, one of the charter questions or charter amendments that went before the voters was to amend the definition of, the charter read supervisory employees, in a nutshell, were not allowed to be in the union, and it raised concern because we have supervisory employees such as police sergeants, fire captains that are definitely union employees. And so when we amended an ordinance or drafted an ordinance affecting union elections, we had to take a further step and define supervisory as administrative, or let's see, how did that come about?
Don't get it wrong. Sorry.
Anyhow, we had to manipulate the definition to make it fit with the charter language and fit with what was practically going on with respect to our union membership. And so with the recent election and the voters allowing us to correct the language to read administrative employees are not members of the union, this amendment corrects the language that was created in our code of ordinances.
Yes,
Yes, it is.
If Roger says it, it's good. If I said that, excuse me, Mayor.
Any other questions? None? Anyone to speak for or against amending it? Not. Hearing is closed. Second reading of an ordinance amending Section 2-74, procedure of bargaining units, elections and recognition. 1, definitions of Chapter 2, administration to be consistent with Home Rule Charter of the City of Trinidad. Would you please read the ordinance?
An ordinance amending Section 2-74, procedure of bargaining units, election and recognition. 1, definitions of Chapter 2, administration to be consistent with the Home Rule Charter of the City of Trinidad.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Staff has any other additional opinion? None? Call vote, please.
Donato?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Yes.
Torres? Yes. Rico?
Yes. Item 7, first reading of an ordinance appropriating certain sums of money out of the revenues of the City of Trinidad, Colorado to defray and meet the liabilities of the City of Trinidad for the fiscal year beginning January the 1st, 2018, and ending December the 31st, 2018. Said ordinance being termed the annual appropriation bill for the 2018 fiscal year, and setting a hearing date for consideration of said ordinance to what date would that be?
December 19th?
December the 19th. Somebody please introduce.
I will introduce.
Okay. Please read the ordinance.
An ordinance appropriating certain sums of money out of the revenues of the city of Trinidad, Colorado, to defray and meet the liabilities of the city of Trinidad for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2018 and ending December 31st, 2018. Said ordinance being termed the annual appropriation bill for the 2018 fiscal year and setting a hearing date for consideration of said ordinance.
Motion to approve first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Canado.
Nothing, no, sir.
Mr. Torres. None?
No, sir.
None? Okay. Now, the one question I had is, and of course, this was just an example. There was a lot of, capital outlays in negatives in certain areas. And of course, when you made adjustments to the, I guess, appropriating money, taking it out, I guess, from the general fund to
Yes.
correct it, and you did that in a few different spots?
I think we did that in one fund, right?
I thought there was a couple or two or three.
The one thing we did with the general fund, those were marijuana allocations that we were moving.
Okay.
Like for instance, the payoff of the debt on the sewer fund. And so rather than expending those directly out of the general fund, it was thought to better to expend them out of the effective fund.
So they were showing some transfers in for some of the dollars,
Yes.
and that's what you're talking about.
Right, and then with capital, that's a typical way to do capital is you, when you have a capital project, you rely on, to some extent, your cash balances, because that's what you build them for.
Okay.
It's, you put money away for a period of time until you can afford to do a capital project, and then you spend some of that money.
Yeah, because I was noticing that the amount of capital outlay was considerably different from last year in some of those instances, so you're planning on doing.
But we have some big projects.
Yes, and that's what I figured, there was some capital stuff that you're
Yes.
going to be planning on doing this next year,
Mhm.
and that's the reason for that.
Right. I was also asked, with regard to the subsidies, agency support, however you want to title that, to give you a more direct breakdown of what those are, in case you just want to keep them for the next few days.
Okay.
And they will be presented at the next meeting, and then my hope is that for the consideration of marijuana allocation for 18, put that on either the first or second meeting in January for you to consider that. But this gives you we've created this separate department in the budget so that you can specifically see what the agency support is coming directly out of the general fund, and then the other one is from marijuana.
Now, one thing that I was just kind of wondering, Mr. Murphy had requested some funding. Yeah, did you
I
do
think
that?
that's on that agency support list. I think it says videotaping or something. He gave you a sheet, so.
Agency support, I don't see it on.
No. No, of our senior citizens.
Is it the,
We moved it to city council.
Oh, okay.
What was that?
It's a service under city council. We have $27,000.
Okay, so where's that at in the budget?
It's under the city council's department budget.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was under here originally, that's why I was a little confused.
Is that like a discretionary budget?
No, you just have a regular budget, and so that's a line item in your budget. I think it's under contract services.
Oh, okay.
Makes it easy to pass right through us.
Yeah.
Right.
because it is a direct benefit to the city council, the recordings of city council.
Sure.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's not an agency support, it's more of a direct contract.
So the short answer is the request was funded, it's a pass-through through city council to get to where we need to be.
Yes.
That makes sense.
I have one more question on the community foundation.
Sure.
Would the arrangement be the same as it was with the last year?
It's a little different because we've pulled out a couple different things that we're tagging directly so that you can see what they are, and so they get the money that's left after that.
Okay, so
Like Ada is in here now, it
Okay.
wasn't in there last year.
Ada's in the community foundation?
It's in that agency fund.
Okay, so that's gonna be more in the,
So it's a direct allocation.
okay. And so when the foundation makes up their list of where they wanna give, they are the final determiners, right? We don't get, or council doesn't review
What I've
it?
talked to Mr. Simpleman about is that my recommendation with that is that they do the review, they collect the applications, they go through their entire process, and then he comes here and makes a recommendation, and the board approves or doesn't approve all of them.
I'm more comfortable with them as an advisory.
And he actually said that's what he originally wanted to do.
Okay, good, thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions? There's no other discussion, call vote please.
Benado,
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
McKay.
Yes.
Miles.
Yes.
Suarez. Yes. Rico.
Yes. Item 7B, resolution leveling general property taxes based upon the 2017 certification evaluation to help defray costs of government for the city of Trinidad, Colorado for the 2018 budget year. Motion to approve the resolution.
So,
Second?
Second?
Do we have any opinion from staff? No? None?
Hasn't changed.
Okay. Any other discussion? None? Call the vote, please.
Benado,
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
McKay.
yes.
Miles.
Yes.
Torres. Yes. Rico.
Yes. Item 8, council reports. Mr. Bernardo, please.
I just have a few things to say tonight. The parade of lights was fantastic. I think everybody enjoyed it. There was such a big crowd downtown. I mean, it was amazing. I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of the community put its best foot forward this year. Really kept our community lighted up pretty good. Also, we had a meeting. Mr. Sun, the mayor, and I also met with Fort Carson here last week in the city hall chambers. It was coping with maneuvers and training and stuff like that, and I'll tell you, it really looks good down there. I mean, it's kind of dry because we haven't had no moisture, but I gotta give credit to the Army where they do train and do a lot of these things that they're really keeping care of the land down there. They also take care of tribal burial grounds and different things like that where the tanks or the strikers cannot maneuver down there. They also take care of not running over our gas lines out there. So it's a wonderful thing, and like I say, I was really impressed with General George coming down. Also, Colonel Finch came down, and I believe it was a good meeting. I think Mr. Mayor and I and Mr. Sun had a little fun on the helicopter driving around, and so it was really enjoyable. So that's about all I have to say.
Mr. Torres.
I don't really have anything.
Okay.
We had a retreat, a planning retreat for the Creative District Board, and thanks to Tara, she really moved things along amazingly well. We actually finished early, in 3 hours instead of 4 hours. But in any event, basically did planning and strategizing for the year ahead, and we've gone through some important documents, theory of change, and I think we've got a good plan for 2018. Anything you want to add on that, Tara?
No, just that the Creative District is really going to spend some time diversifying themselves. They're absolutely committed to the Space to Create project and very interested to instill work as a strategic partner with council, but we spent quite a bit of time talking about diversifying some of their interest and reach into the community, and I was really pleased with a lot of the things they chose to engage in.
The other thing to mention is we've hired bond counsel for ARPA. It's an important step. We're proceeding with the refinancing. We had a call yesterday, and things are proceeding apace. We've got a couple glitches with the upcoming tax legislation that we have to be very careful about, but I'm just hoping we can get this done as quickly as possible. The savings keep getting stronger, even if it's just a little bit. There's certainly seen no diminishment. And that's it. Oh, also the Parade of Lights was fun.
Yeah, I'll echo those sentiments. The Parade of Lights was great. The youth club had a float, which the kids were able to participate in. They really liked it, and they got a lot of great reviews. We did receive for the youth club the $3,900 from the Bar and I granting process, which we were able to receive last Friday up at the Bar and I Ranch, which is very nice. If anyone has an opportunity and an invite, I highly recommend it. But very nice people, and they actually noted that they would like to maybe bring the kids up there later for some outdoor camping activities as human growth kind of adventures, if you will, being out of doors. Thirdly, I just want to say I'm very happy with the way things turned out with all the people that were downtown for the Parade of Lights. I didn't get to see all the floats because I was driving the float, but it was a great turnout of people, and I was very happy with that. And that's it.
Ms. Fletcher. Mr. Calendar.
No, I haven't done it, no. Just I want to mention something about the pre-parade with the Army. That was well attended, and Sergeant Yellow Rosa that brought the equipment down and was part of the instruction. They did some public education on the use of the Stryker and the Humvee, and the kids got to get in it and on it, and some of the adults were fascinated too by being inside that Stryker. That's a massive piece of equipment. That was very successful, and he got back to me and he said he felt very welcomed by the city of Trinidad, so I felt gratified that the Army had that kind of impression of us. One thing that did come up, and I don't know what the legality of this is, Parks, the power and light came down because we had to have a microphone for them to speak to the audience, but there was a padlock on the power box from the farmer's market. And Mr. Kush, I don't think, was very happy that we broke his padlock, but what's the status? Can a private entity have control over a public park like that?
Power was needed down there. We could have had that open for you.
Yeah, they came down, Power and Light came down with the keys. And they said,
yeah.
Don't think we're gonna get in there. It was okay, it was resolved.
Okay. Right.
So, Mr. Kuchar might want a padlock. But
it was more convenient for them to have it.
yeah.
Because every Saturday we don't want to send the power and light guy out overtime to go open it, so
Yeah.
I'll make sure I resolve that.
Yeah, we found some
next
bolt
time.
cutters and away we went, yeah.
Good to know.
And I think we're going to be doing that in the future too. Invite the Army down for a pre-parade for some education for the public, because it was well attended and well received.
Councilwoman Fletcher's comments about power and the lock is such a perfect segue into the tree lighting ceremony. When the mayor, I believe, was speaking and everything went dark, Father Carl invoked divine intervention, and the power came back on, and that was good. Okay, so in the spirit of Christmas, thank you. To the point of ARPA and so forth and all the good things that are happening there, we need a Michelle Miles Day. Serious, for years.
Every day is.
Well, my opinion is that for years we've sat kind of stagnant with ARPA and not a whole lot of movement in any direction until such time as you became actively involved and brought with your presence your vast volume of expertise and knowledge in energies and electricity.
Well, thank you.
And you got us off center, you got us moving, and we are making steady progress. We, ARPA, and as a member of the city to the ARPA group. Thank you so very much for all that.
Thank you.
Okay, and then had a citizen bring to my attention today that on First Street, near the First National Bank drive-up facility, there is a driveway by which you enter and exit on the north side, right off of First Street. But when there are buses parked adjacent to the south curb, it's difficult to see as you are exiting from that parking facility. And I tonight drove by there just to see. I have been there in the past when the two marijuana party buses are there. The longer one on the west side of the entrance and the shorter one on the east side. Neither one were there tonight. The shorter one was across the street on the north side facing appropriately west. But then I noticed there's a big bullnose kind of a bus that I thought was Trinidad High School activity bus, but it's a solid white bus which apparently has plans of becoming an additional party bus. And then more to the point about parking there where it creates an obstacle and a hazard. Is that something we need to address, or we just need better drivers to get around them and leave it alone? I'm asking. I mean, I don't know. I have been in a situation from a traffic perspective where it's difficult to see, and you inch out, and the next thing you know, you're missing the front clip of your car.
Mr. Pixley's here. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm happy you're here, sir.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can give me enlightened information on which I can respond responsibly.
Yeah, so we are currently in talks with somebody who has some property just outside of town where we're going to be able to park those buses full time. In the meantime, we are making sure, per talking to Chief Gloria, so that we are moving them periodically so that they're not sitting there over the allotted amount of time. But I know the bank had mentioned that they're not happy about.
You agree with the concern of visibility?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we are in talks with somebody right now to rent out a small piece of land. So we'll hopefully have those gone here by the end of the year.
When I look good tomorrow, when I tell the guy problem solved.
Yeah. So yeah, we're working on it. We've heard, some complaints from our neighbors, and we're definitely taking those seriously and going to get those out there. So
thank you much, sir.
Yep, you got it.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm done.
Like Commissioner Nato said, we met with the Army last week here, and one thing that was just to add on to it, in February they're going to have an aviation group down here in Pinyon Canyon for probably 10 days. Positive attitude, and he's a very likable man, and I think probably Greg can probably say the same thing as well as Mr. Bernardo.
Plus he let you ride in his house?
Plus,
Good word.
Cool. That's the way to do it.
No wonder why you like him. I'm sorry, man.
But what's amazing as we went through the helicopter ride, on the helicopter ride, it was amazing to see what the topography is. From here, on the ground, it doesn't look like anything, but you get out there and the topography just changes. It looks like it's there's just
like
canyons and canyons and canyons, and there are some areas that are just bright red, and just the stones, and you could see the walls that are just, where people can't get up them once they're down in those canyons. So it's a beautiful area. I think we live in an area that's quite beautiful, and they're doing everything that they can to preserve it. And I have to commend the Army for doing that. I also did say that as long as I am mayor, I will support the Army. I did say that. And I think it's necessary that it be said, that myself, and I think probably I would say that the majority of council and the majority of the community probably feels the same way, from what I hear from people that I talk to all the time. I have attended a couple of meetings with Amtrak, and I know everybody's received some emails here the last few days. Jacob Rigger presented to the state legislature this last week. It had to be done on the 1st. Some deliverables that we had to put forth to the state legislature, and you probably were able to read that. I think if anybody would like to have, it's quite extensive. If anybody would like a copy of that, we could forward that to you. Just let me know, and I could forward that information on to you so we can kind of get an understanding of what's happening with Amtrak. There was a little concern that in some of the information that we originally received, that it showed only from Fort Collins down to Pueblo. but in reality, it is showing, there was a correction made that it will come from Fort Collins all the way down to Trinidad and through Trinidad and going on south. So they're still working out some details. It's going to cost a tremendous amount of money over a period of, from what Jacob said, and it got a little thing here, and it said that they're looking at probably a 15-year time frame before any of this is completed. So it's going to be a long time coming, with a lot of dollars in the billions to be expended to make this happen. This Jacob Ritter did a tremendous amount of work putting together the harassed of the commission. So I think that we have a good foothold as to what is going to happen with the train. There's a lot of details, like I said, to be worked out yet, but I think it's in the right direction.
Will we go over and get out the house?
Yes. What's interesting though is, and I think I mentioned this the last council meeting, is that Wyoming is interested in jumping on board. They figured that it's that close, why not us too? So it's going to be interesting to see how that all works out. And we'll probably be seeing that at some of the next meetings that we have. I do want to commend the staff, the people that put all the lights up downtown, all the tree lights, you know, all the workers. They did a tremendous job. The community looks beautiful this year. Had a lot of comments from the public. They added some more today, from what I saw. It just adds a little more festivity to the entire community. And from what I understand, there's been like 38 people that have participated. Am I correct, Tara?
38.
38, I think, that threw in for the, what do you call that exactly?
It's a Deck the Halls lighting contest, so we have 38 contestants. You can vote through SurveyMonkey. You can easily find it. Everybody's promoting themselves on Facebook. So
why does it not include Westminster?
It included everyone that has a business license in the city of Trinidad.
Oh,
you had to fill out an
I guess
application.
it's the city decorations, though, don't they?
Oh,
swap it
I
out?
apologize. I'm speaking to the private
I understand
contest. I would defer to someone else on the city decorations.
So through our street enhancement program, we have power to all the trees to basically this corner. So we haven't got that far down the street with the power. So we just have the lights on.
Next year.
When we do the project. Next project.
I did want to ask Council, Sal Pace, who is actually the chairperson for the Southwest Chief Amtrak, would you like him to come and make a presentation to Council? Would that be something that's necessary?
I think it's necessary. It'd be nice.
It'd be nice to have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that he can see the South Public exists.
Okay.
Okay, I have a comment to make on South Pace and the Amtrak. They interviewed him on the news, I think it was Channel 5, on the Hyperloop that's coming from Cheyenne, or hopefully gonna be Cheyenne to Pueblo, if that would be in competition with the Amtrak. And he said, no, actually, that would be a complimentary addition, all the more reason to have the Amtrak come in, because it would hook up in Pueblo North and South there, so I was gonna make that comment.
The only question that came up the last meeting that I attended was that originally was supposed to have been federally funded, Hyperloop, but now they're changing their tune and they may be thinking of going after some tax money. So we'll see how that works out in the end.
I think that would be perfectly understandable. That would be a nice thing to the.
So that would be the only competition that we could probably see could happen.
Yeah.
You know, speaking about, if I can, Mr. Mayor, speaking about Amtrak, maybe Michelle will remember this and that. When we were on council before, that we had, when Mr. Riora was our mayor, he made a comment by saying, I hope Amtrak brings its wallet with it. In other words, is Amtrak going to be part of paying some of this stuff?
Matter of fact, they have Amtrak and BNSF they both, at this juncture in time, for this particular Tiger Grant 9, have said that they would give $3 million apiece The state of Colorado, Kansas, and New Mexico have given $1 million apiece. Each one of there's like 12 communities that have committed $12,500 to as their portion, which is very small, but at least it shows that we are interested in continuing this. But no, they are participating. Okay, thank you. And this was something that was, it was posted somewhere, I'm not sure if it was in the newspaper. It says, no Hyperloop question, no problem, north to south Colorado passenger train being looked at. So that came out. Also last night, we met with people from the Laura Foundation.
Laura,
Laura Foundation, they're from New Mexico. People from the Venture Foundation was here. Margaret Hunt was here from OEDIT. We met with them yesterday, and then we had dinner with them last night. So it was just another foundation that may be a possible avenue for funding. He didn't give us a whole lot of thought or anything. He was pretty quiet throughout the night.
He was impressed.
But he was impressed with what we're doing.
He's from Taos.
Yeah, he's from Taos. The last thing that came up last meeting was that HR 3354 Department of Interior Appropriations bill. And we decided to wait to see what kind of information we can get from that. And talked to Congressman Buck's liaison here last week. She couldn't answer all the questions, so she connected us with Bill Bornstein, who is his office staff person, policymaker in Washington, D.C. Tara and I had a phone conversation with him last Friday. Tara, why don't you come forward? And there was some...
Came out of something that happened in 2014 in the southeast Colorado, where a national heritage area was put forward by a group called Canyons and Plains, which operates in the southeast Colorado and includes eastern Los Animas County. And when that heritage area was put in place, a great number of the county commissioners heard from the ranching community, and they were successful in having that heritage area not go forward. The question became one of property rights. So from what our understanding is, and we were still going back and forth with them as late as today, trying to understand why the congressman only segregated 8 counties in the amendment. So the amendment would cover only the 8 counties, including Trinidad to Pueblo and all the way east to the Kansas border. And the reason that the congressman's office gave us is because those were the communities he heard from. And that's why he included them in the amendment rather than, as the mayor asked them several times on the call, why just our corner of the state? Why not the rest of the state? What we understand about it is that it would prohibit anyone from putting a National Heritage designation on southeastern counties. It would only be effective for 1 year. It would have to be renewed every year with the budget. And that it came out of the heritage area that was proposed in 2014 that much of the ranching community opposed because they felt like it added some zoning restrictions on their property. The only thing I can think of to try and give you an analogy from within our area is when we adopted our certified local government ordinance. When we got ready to talk about the establishment of historic neighborhoods, rather than saying 50% or 60% of the neighbors had to be in agreement, we said 100% of the neighbors had to give written agreement for a historic neighborhood to be established. That's the only thing I can think of to perhaps explain as an analogy of what our understanding of what they're trying to do. I think we were pretty aggressive in trying to just understand 2 things. First, did it affect any of our current programs? And we could find nothing in our current programs or goals that it would affect. But number 2, really trying to understand why the southeast corner of the state was the only thing mentioned. Do you think that was it?
That was it. Like I
Okay.
said, I kept pressing to see, I cannot understand Congressman Buck's rationale behind just targeting just this sector of Colorado rather than the entire state. And I still have that question in my mind. So that...
How many counties were in that advocacy?
8 counties, I think.
8 counties,
So we're talking the same exact county.
the same exact counties
That's
that
why
were in the
it's
National
same
Heritage
counties,
Area.
is that was the request back then.
In 2014, I attended one of the public meetings, and one of the ranchers said, if I have a historic barn on my property, and I'm in a National Heritage Area, and it's more than 50 years old, and I want to take that barn down, will I be able to do that? And the representative from the National Park Service said you would need to get a waiver to do that. So I believe that that type of restriction on private property is what caused the ranchers to reach out to the county commissioners. I can only speak because that was one, I attended it in La Junta in 2014.
What was interesting though, at that same time, was it 4 years ago that they did this, they asked for the heritage area over in the San Luis Valley, which they approved, which was kind of, you know, they did not approve it in this area, so. I bring that to council, I'm not sure, I know that, she was here last time too. Ozalo. She wanted us to see if we would write a letter in opposition. I'm not sure what your thoughts are. Do you want to leave it sit?
Well, as I understood her presentation, she was concerned about those entities that rely on grants for historic Catholic Church, for example, not being able to secure that kind of funding by virtue of this, but I think there was a disconnect.
This is different.
Yeah.
That the two are two different things.
In my memo.
Yes, they were specifically answered.
Anybody else?
Okay.
So with that, I guess we'll just leave it set. Okay. That's all I have. Reports by city manager.
If any of you would like to attend the Christmas luncheon for the Chamber of Commerce on the 13th, which would be next Wednesday, I think, please let Audra know. If you want to do it right now, that would be fine too. It's just their annual Christmas luncheon, so you'll sing carols and things like that.
The requirement is you gotta wear a Santa hat.
Oh, do you? So if you have an interest, let Audra know. Councilmember Lopez and I won't be attending because we'll be at this permanent supportive housing thing. Then there's, just for everyone's notice, because we're no longer reading the ordinance for first reading, the copies of the ordinances are available on the table outside the door and also on the website. So people have ample opportunity to see it. And if they would like us to send them the copy, we do that too.
We're gonna miss your reading, Tara.
Miss Kim's reading.
I attended Trinidad Development Group meeting today, and we had a good discussion. But it took the whole day. So it was a meeting in Colorado Springs. And then I want to thank our finance director Cheryl Navarrete and Audra Garrett. And everybody else who participated and helped us put the budget together, because it was a lot of work. We had a lot of changes in there. We separated two funds. We changed the way the city applies administrative fees to the utilities. So there were quite a few different changes. We eliminated a couple of departments in the general fund that and spread the costs, like for employees' benefits and other costs, to the individual departments, so it's easier to see what the department costs, rather than having to look in two different places and do some math. So I'm very grateful for all the work that we put in to get this thing balanced.
The directors were involved?
Yes.
A lot of directors?
And then I also want to thank the city staff that put up the downtown decorations. They look great. The contest that is going on with the Deck the Halls, there's some pretty innovative people out there, what they're putting in their windows. So please take some time to go take a look at that and what they've come up with, and vote. I attended a couple meetings, one with Councilmember Bonato on establishing an autism respite center here in town. And last week, I met with the group and with Marty Velasquez at the community center, and we're going to provide them some temporary space. There's the southeast Colorado Development and Disability Association. They are going to possibly provide some space sometime in the future, but they needed a gap in time. They recently acquired the Alta Vista building, and they need to work on making that handicap accessible. It's an old enough building that it's not. And so Marty was more than happy to provide them some space in a room that they were just using for storage. So all he wanted to clean it out anyway, so this gave him a reason.
Who did you say bought the Alta Vista?
The, is it
In Colorado.
Southeast Colorado Development and Disabilities Association?
Was that the rehab center?
Yeah.
Yes. Right, that's right.
Their operation right now is in the industrial complex.
Right.
I attended a meeting last Wednesday night on opioid issues. It was interesting. It was more targeted at doctors than at the general public, but it gave some good information. Councilmember Miles and I had talked to Crossroads Center about developing a methadone clinic. I learned at that meeting that Mount Carmel, the stats that we have in Los Alamos County regarding the use of opioids and overdoses and those kind of things, I think this is an issue that we need to take on.
I think we talked briefly about Suboxone.
Yeah,
in
it's
our
a
first lunch.
different drug.
It's
So
a
there's-
different
There's
drug.
like 3 different drugs, and I'm not sure if we need 2 places or not.
It kind of took the place of methadone.
Yeah, but it's an entirely different drug, and it acts different on the body, so that's kind of what the people that were at that meeting last Wednesday were pushing, was the Suboxone. With the meeting with Fort Carson representatives, one of the things we potentially talked about that I think Trinidad has a reason to be involved in is every once in a while, and I don't expect one to come up in the near future, but there's a BRAC commission. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a realignment and closure commission. And they pretty much have hearings on bases all around the country. Because we have the maneuver site here, I think we should consider being part of the effort when Fort Collins gets faced, or not Fort Collins, Colorado Springs gets faced with a challenge to Fort Carson, because I think we definitely have a stake in this. And the next time they come down here, it sounds like they're going to bring somebody from Colorado Springs Chamber of Commerce to visit with us about that. So I think that'd be great to be involved in.
From what the general was saying, or actually maybe Colonel Fitch was saying, I forget which one, that potentially Fort Carson has the opportunity, this next BRAC, if they have one, to increase their troop size. Right now they're at about 26,000, and they might increase it because there's some of the realignment of another area might be moved to Fort Carson.
And that's typically what they do, is if they choose to close an installation, they don't necessarily get rid of the staff and soldiers, they just realign them, they move them somewhere
Well,
else.
this last BRAC that they had, they picked up quite a few, which is just 2 years ago. And one of the things that's interesting is that this aviation brigade that's coming in February, it's actually a training exercise from what I understand, because what they're going to do is they're going to have training going on at Fort Carson, training going on here with the helicopters, and they are going to have troops down here, and they will be flying them probably during the day, during the night, and basically creating an invasion type thing, practice, all the way across that area. So it's going to be interesting for them, because they see that how critical that is because of the distance, and so that training is going to be ideal for what they want to do.
I think the general also said that there would be 45 helicopters down in Pena County here for this training maneuver. Not all 45 in the air at one time, but
I was surprised to learn that they are only allowed to do maneuvers on the maneuver site for 4 months a year. So there's 8 months a year that it has to just sit.
Wow.
So I mean, they have 20 people on staff out there, but the maneuvers can only be for 4 months. And then, during the report, prior to going out there, the report included something from their fire safety and firefighter group, and they did a tremendous amount of work in there, limbing up trees so that they can't catch fire if there's a lightning strike or something like that, or that they do something during maneuvers that would cause that. Because if they limb up these trees, the fire stays low, it doesn't get into the crowns of the trees. So they're doing a lot of things to make sure that the area is controlled. They're revegetating areas that have been tore up to some extent. And we looked at one, and it was from, I think, 11. You couldn't even tell anything had ever been there. So it's pretty amazing the amount of work they're doing. With the railroad funding, or with the Front Range Railroad, it sounded like the proposal is that the...
And one of the things that we have to do is we want to try to hire some staff, because we feel like we need staff to be able to take it to the next level.
I might be off a little, it's 2-point-something million a year. And then I just wanted to let all of you know that we have had a couple conference calls with CDOT and with Amtrak people, and they are going to put in their shelter at the station out there. We had some concerns about it because it's potentially just going to be a shelter maybe for some homeless people too. So anytime that you can get out of the wind, it's going to draw people. So we don't know what the outcome will be with it. And they also said that if a decision is made at some point in the future to have that be part of the welcome center, this is a modular unit they can just pick up and move to a different station somewhere else. So it doesn't get in the way of any projects that we're looking at. But when it goes up, I just want to let you know that we have had those
Yeah,
discussions.
the long-term idea is to put it in the LaPorte area.
Yeah. And that's it.
Counselor.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Boy, that was a long city manager.
That was.
Just kidding. Just kidding. I thought I'd never get it go. I just wanted to direct
just
your.
ran out of time.
Right, I know that's right. Too bad. That's right. I wanted to direct your attention to the two things I posted your seating places. The one is a memo that I gave you a hard copy of that I promised you before that I've given you, and then the other one is a legal. It's a decision, an opinion, and also a copy of the opinion on a case that we recently won. It was the ADA case, and so that's more good legal news for the city of Trinidad. So I give you a copy of the judge's order as well as a copy of the opinion, so you have that. The only other thing I have is that I attended the land use continuing legal education seminar that you had asked me to go to and do that. I did that with Ms. Marshall last week. It was very, very informative, a really wonderful series of seminars over 2 days. So I did go to that, and that's all I have to report on. Thank you.
Just a question, is this appealable?
Yes.
It is, but I would say that it's really pretty resounding how the opinion was, how it came down. It also was a ruling on competing motions for summary judgment. So, and we prevailed. So it is appealable, but I would just think that the likelihood of that being appealed is not very great. So, but it is appealable.
Okay, if nothing else, item 10, executive session. To discuss the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of real, personal, or other property interest under CRS Section 24-6-4024A, recreational land. Item B, for discussion of personnel matter under CRS Section 24-6-4022F. Not involving any specific employees who request a discussion of the matter. Open session, any member of this body or any elected official. The appointment of any person to fill an office of this body or of an elected official, or personnel policies that do not require the discussion of matters personal to particular employees. City manager's 6-month evaluation. Motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions on that? Call vote, please.
Benado,
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Lopez.
Yes.
McKay.
Yes.
Miles.
Yes.
Morris. Yes. Rico.
Yes. Let's go and take a little break. I'm gonna go downstairs with Barbara for a bit.
Isn't that meeting next week? Wednesday, Thursday?
Someone received.
Oh, okay.
Do you like it?
November 14th.
Even when you offer something up.
Weekend before that.
There's gonna be a meeting.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Councilman Short.